with the correct amount.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
I'm going to be honest with you, bro.
I'm going to beat up John Cena.
Oh, it's a great idea.
So who the hell do you think you are?
I was going to dress up like Brutus the Barber Beefcake, cutting men straight, and then I was going to beat up John Cena. Wonderful. I mean, come on. What's more fun than beating up John Cena?
Suplex City, bitch.
Beat up John Cena!
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
And welcome, everybody, to this very special edition of the Weekly Suplex. I am Brian Thomas, and joined tonight for our post-WWE Extreme Rules pay-per-view is my good friend, the Jay. Jay, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing well. How are you? Glad to jump on here and talk a little Extreme Rules.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I really enjoyed about the old days of the Daily Suplex was the post-match shows that we did were always fun, because the post-pay-per-view shows, I should say, that we did were always fun because it's instant reaction. You just saw everything and you can get it out. So I don't know if we'll do this every pay-per-view, but figured why not go for this one, because it's an interesting pay-per-view to talk about for sure. I know there's a lot of people who liked it and a lot of people who didn't like it. So we'll get into some of that, and I can tell you this much. The Cien Almas and the Sin Cara match was great on the kickoff, even though it was rather short. And then until we got to the cage match, the rest of it was just kind of, ugh.
Yeah,
So-
I'm going to be honest with you, Brian. Like, I didn't start paying attention seriously until that cage match, because I didn't get to see the pre-show. I just got in from off the road. And so I turned it on, and I've just kind of got it going on, and I'm like, I don't care. Ooh, Hardy took a nut shot. I don't care. You know, like, I was just not into it at all. That cage match came out, and the fact that, and I hoped they would do it this way, that Kevin Owens got in so much stuff on Braun Strowman before Strowman started to just strong him to death, that I was like, you know what? They're going to do what I've heard. I heard you guys talk about it Friday. I heard other podcasts talk about it. They're going to let Strowman, like, throw him through the cage or something, and KO will get the win, but Strowman will, like, destroy him. And that's exactly what they did. And the minute he stood up on top of that cage, I was like, it's the 20th anniversary of Undertaker Mankind. We got to. The only thing we don't have is poor JR there to talk about. He's broken in half.
Exactly.
But you know what, boy, KO, talk about a vet. The rotation he took landed that perfect on the table. I was like, golf clap on the landing there, Kevin. That was well done. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, but only to be topped, and I can't believe I'm going to say these next words, Brian, only to be topped by what Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns were able to pull off in a match I couldn't have cared less about. But they booked that thing perfectly. That was awesome.
It was actually really, really good, and a very surprise finish. But first, let me just quick run down what happened in the first opening matches, because I did pay attention, and I'm not happy about it. But in match number one, which I thought was an odd way to start the show, by having the Deleter of Worlds and the B Team for the Raw Tag Team Championships, I would have thought, and based on what they did later, you know why, but I would have thought they want to kick things off with Daniel Bryan coming out and fire up the crowd. But apparently they went this route instead. It wasn't a great match at all, and they really didn't allow enough of Bray and Bo going at each other, because the crowd wanted it. The crowd wanted to see it. They teased it at the beginning, and then Bo tagged out. We got a little bit of it, but not anywhere near what it would have been fun to see. But the B Team got the win and are the new tag team champions. I was quite surprised by this, and pleasantly, I should say.
Hey, look, hats off to Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel, who took something that nobody cared anything about and got themselves over with it and are having a lot of fun. I mean, they won't keep them long. They may not even keep them a day. But you know what? That was fun. And moreover, they had some fun, too, because I saw the meme later. It's like Rowan should have joined the B team, because they had a little backstage segment with him later. But I like that. I think they are setting up a Bray Wyatt, Bo Dallas showdown sometime in the future. I mean, how can you not have the Rotunda brothers go at each other? And as Mr. Old School NWA guy here, I loved Mike Rotunda, hated IRS, loved Mike Rotunda in the NWA. So I love this. I can get a huge kick out of this.
Yeah.
Also being a big Troy football fan, having worked there for a long time, I remember Bray Wyatt when he actually played. I loved it. I thought it was fun. I mean, I was kind of halfway watching it and messing around on Twitter or whatever, but it was fun. I mean, I'm glad they won. I mean, if you're going to kick that match, I'm with you. That's not the match I would have used to kick off the show, but fun. But here's the thing, though. The guy who has been kicking off the pay-per-views is Seth Rollins, and they stuck him in the last hole tonight, so they had to have something.
Yeah, we'll get to that, too. But I agree. And I'm going to say this now. The first hour of the pay-per-view wasn't horrible. It just wasn't anything special. It was kind of just there. It would be like watching a Raw or SmackDown. That's how it felt. It didn't feel big. It didn't feel great. Match number 2 had Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin. And it just seems like the first hour went so fast and the matches were so short. And this one, too, where they could have had something fun for Baron Corbin to come out on. And they actually had Finn Balor roll him up for a victory. Inside Cradle, it was just kind of like there. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the whole first hour felt so perfunctory.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, it was almost like extended pre-show.
Right, exactly. It felt that way, too. And I don't know if it's because we're conditioned to not have a match until, 7, 8 Eastern. But it just felt just off. And the next match was the Women's Championship from the SmackDown side, Carmella versus Asuka, James Ellsworth in a Shark Tank. This seemed like it was going to go well. I predicted, I believe, that James Ellsworth would have something with him and throw it down to Carmella to help win. Well,
like 10 seconds.
Yeah, 10 seconds into it, he drops a chain down there for Carmella to use. Then another item, the spray that she used on SmackDown, he drops that down to use. And then he escapes the cage because he somehow has a freaking key to unlock it and gets stuck on the cage, which I think was a hilarious segment. It was good. And Asuka at the time had taken care of Carmella enough to where she was able to really beat the holy hell out of James Ellsworth, who was hanging from the cage right there by his foot. And that was fun to watch and all. But then once Carmella came in, basically they lowered the cage down to help get James Ellsworth off. Asuka was just intent on beating the tar out of James Ellsworth, giving Carmella the opportunity to just basically throw her head first into the cage and get her on a pinfall. And so it was just kind of like, when are they going to let these two actually work a match instead of this gimmicky stuff? It was fine for what it was. It was entertaining in spots, but it wasn't really satisfying and a good way for, I think, to pin Asuka, to beat Asuka like that. I mean, she's got to really find herself because she's losing everything these days.
Well, I mean, she hasn't won a major match in a long time, and certainly nothing on any of the major shows, pay-per-views, whatever you want to call them. I didn't get why they were doing it, but I was with you. That I thought Ellsworth would get involved somehow and it'll be a distraction and Carmella will win. I like Carmella. I think she's doing good stuff, but I got to be honest with you, she's kind of played out a little bit for me with the whole razzmatazz that she does now. I'm just sort of over it. And also the fact that the other women's match that I know we'll get to in a bit totally blew this away and overshadowed it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. And so, and it shouldn't have been because the size differential in that match means it's impossible to book, but they always they seem to come up with ways to make that work, and that's what I'm saying. Is it's weird that they can't find more interesting things to do for two people that can work. Carmella and Asuka can both work, but I'm with you. I know it's a gimmick pay-per-view, but this was one of those that was like, maybe we shouldn't have had the Shark Tank match again. I don't know. I'm kind of over the Shark Tank.
I don't think any match where anyone's suspended in the air ever works out well. So
Judy Bagwell on a forklift is the only way that should end ever. That's all I'm going to say, bro.
Yeah.
So
up next, match number 4 was the United States Championship, and I don't know if I really want to call this a match because all it was a low blow. Now, Shinsuke played the part beautifully because he got the low blow in as the ref was moving the belt out of the ring, and then he turned around to see Hardy on the ground and gave the "oh my gosh, what happened?" look, and it was fabulous. I mean, he did a great job. Hardy is asked if he can continue. He gets up and says he can. Right away, Kinshasa, and it's over. Now, immediately online, I saw a report that it was probably because Jeff Hardy has a back injury that this happened. Well, then they announced that they're going to have a match on SmackDown as a rematch. So
that's,
is it an injury or not? We don't know. I haven't seen a credible report yet. So until we find out why they decided to book this as a 2-second match, we won't really know. But it just seemed odd.
I have a theory, and I'm going to throw it out. Maybe the injury is somewhat legit or whatever. They booked the rematch, but you forgot the other part that happened.
Oh, I didn't.
Your
forget
favorite
it,
person,
trust me.
Your favorite person, Randy Orton, came down the ring and did a good mid stomp to Jeff's jewel area. And what all I'm wondering is like, how's Randy Orton going to get involved Tuesday night? And now are we going to have an Orton Shinsuke thing? Maybe so. I don't know. Maybe Jeff needs some
they've
time
got
off.
to. If Jeff legitimately actually is injured, then I suspect
he
you're
can't
going to
work.
see. Well, I suspect we're going to pay off the fact that Jeff Hardy came out and interrupted Randy Orton on his way out that one time, or when he was coming out to take the challenge that one time. That pissed Orton off. We're playing off that fact. So my idea is Jeff Hardy's going to come out to take on Shinsuke for the match, and Orton's going to come out and beat him down and take him out of the match. Now, it seems like they're trying to make Orton a heel here, right? So why would he then fight Shinsuke Nakamura? I don't know. It just seems odd.
Man, they had two faces later in the night.
But two-face match is something that you can pull off. A two-heel match where nobody cares about the other people, the two people, there's no one to cheer for, that's different. I mean, look at what happened with Roman Reigns and Jinder. Who are they cheering for? Nobody.
Well, that's the the anti-Roman lash too. But that's another day on Donahue. This match, though, I mean, again, I'm kind of in the mind of like Hardy probably is somewhere or another hurt because there's been a lot of reports about he's been missing the Swanton. He's hurt a couple of people with it. He's hurt himself with it. He stopped doing it at house shows now. So I could legit believe, and look, the guy's got some mileage on him. I could believe
and he
that
just came
he's
back
like
really from an injury. So
yeah, and I could legit believe that the dude is like, well, I need to kind of heal that up. So okay, so yeah, we'll let Shinsuke do his heel thing, and we'll let him play with Randy Orton. And again, they don't care. They don't care about the U.S. title. And 5 minutes later, I didn't either, Brian, because we got the cage match. The steel cage match. Yeah. Strowman Owens was really the start of the pay-per-view for me.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking. We're getting through this pay-per-view. We're 4 matches in at this point? Well, 6 if you count the 2 pre-shows, and about an hour into the show, and it's been what the heck's going on here? What are we booking?
Until Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley came out, the longest match had been 8 minutes. Like they blew through this themselves.
Yeah,
I mean,
they really did.
I didn't have to fast forward. The WWE was doing it for me.
Yeah, it was weird. But then you got the Braun Strowman Kevin Owens match, and I was really excited to see what they're going to do here because like I said on the preview show, I had a feeling that Kevin Owens was going to win this match by somehow being either tossed out of the cage or broken through the cage wall by Braun, somehow do that so that he can go on and brag about how he beat Braun Strowman. Now, based on what happened, will he be bragging? I'm not so sure. I would guess he will eventually.
He's a great heel. Yeah, he'll have a lot of fun with it. And he'll weasel his way into something else because of it. So.
Yeah, and it was a fun match. Kevin Owens doesn't get enough credit for being a great bump machine. And he did his job here with Braun Strowman. And then got his licks in as well. The frog splash was awesome.
I was going to say that Braun took that well, and Kevin nailed that frog splash off of the cage. That was great.
Yeah.
It
was fantastic. And then, of course, setting up the whole handcuffing Braun Strowman to the ropes was done great. And you knew Braun Strowman was going to bust the cuffs. I mean, that would have
looked so much better if the cuffs didn't look like you had bought them at the Dollar Tree.
Right.
A minute before.
You gotta buy them at the Dollar Tree because otherwise they're going to get hurt.
I know, but like they got to gimmick that up a little bit better. But you know what? I mean, who didn't know that he was going to do that? I mean, it was awesome though, because how else are you going to? This guy has rolled through people in a way that is just insane. So how else are you going to minimize him? You got to have some way to sort of keep him still. I thought the one-handed choke slam was great.
Yeah.
This was so entertaining all the way. And like I said, I was like you. I thought they're going to find a way for Owens to win, but Braun to look, to kind of do it for him. And when he climbed up and Braun broke those handcuffs and went after him, I was like, he's not throwing him back in the ring. He's going to throw him through a table. And what's even better is to watch Michael Cole's like jazz hands. I know what he was trying to do, but it was just funny to me in the replay to just see him, having his mark out, freak out as that table destroyed underneath Kevin Owens.
Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. I love the throwback to the DX with the suck it to Strowman, pissing Strowman off, and then Owens trying to hightail it out of that cage only to get caught. They really, really did it. Everyone was on, bated breath for this. Was he going to actually throw him off a knot, or which way was he going to throw him? Back to the ring, out to the table? And they kind of teased it for a little bit, and then you knew right away, when he looked down there, he's like, all right, this is where you're going. And it was fantastic. Kevin took the bump like a champ. It was awesome. It looked brutal. It looked great. My co-host normally, Juice, had a video that he posted on his Twitter showing his point of view of the choke slam. It looked pretty harsh, I will tell you that. So if you want, go check that out at Juicy Steen. You can see some posts that he put up there from the night.
Props to Juice. He had amazing seats and an amazing angle on the ring all night.
Yeah.
And posted a lot of cool shots. So yeah, very, very neat.
Very cool. So that was the start of the pay-per-view, and I think from here on it actually gets really good. Now, I'm not going to say the next match was great, the Bludgeon Brothers versus Team Hell No, but Daniel Bryan looked awesome here against the Bludgeon Brothers.
He always does that. Look, this dude could work a broomstick, and probably will be doing so in Japan sometime around November, and he'll make it look amazing, or wherever he goes after this. I don't know where his what he's going to re-sign or not or whatever.
It sounds like he is.
I mean, I read different things. Beyond that, though, for this match, I thought they're going to do this to an extent, and then Kane's going to come out. And you had told me about his legit foot injury, and I thought, I wonder if they'll work that. And he's in the boot. And he comes out and does it, and I was like, you know what? That actually looks kind of cool. I mean, this is weird to say because I remember when Kane was like this scary monster,
sure,
or whatever. But he's, he's not anymore or whatever. But I kind of liked that he came in to defend his buddy, but pretty much did nothing to do any good. And Daniel Bryan will do the job for anybody. He has no care at all. So.
Why should he? I mean, he's a pro.
I mean, he does. He's done everything. Yeah, I mean, he's done everything. He's there. And look, the Bludgeons are as hot as you can get as a tag team right now. They're blowing people away. They'll get them a real competition here, pretty soon. But no time to take the belts off those guys right now. And Bryan and Kane don't need them.
No, they don't.
As a matter of fact, I would have believed if they put the belts on them that would have signaled like these two guys are about to be gone. So they wanted to give them something to roll out on. And feel good about. But the fact that they lost it, I'm like, I'm with you. I'm like, Daniel Bryan's probably going to hang around. And, I mean, you said it to me 100 times. Kane could be running for whatever. He could be running for president. He'll tell you right now he's still going to work, for the WWE because that's his job. So that's pretty cool.
I think it is. I mean, that question came up, I think, from his opponent in November. It was like, he can't be working at WWE. And his response basically was, well, it's just my regular job. It's just no different than you going to an office and working. I go to TV and perform for people. It's my job. So mayors have other jobs to keep the income in. Mayoring is not a full-time job. I will continue to do my job, So, I mean, he won't be there every freaking week and whatnot, but he'll still show up, and there's no reason he shouldn't. So more power to him for that. I mean, it's different when you get to a higher level, like governorship or whatever, where you're a full-time, that is your job. A mayor usually isn't a full-time thing. So,
yeah.
Anyway, that concludes that. The Bludgeon Brothers did retain. They did pin, like you said, Daniel Bryan here. I was hoping that because Kane actually did come out that he'd take the fall because that's what I predicted would happen. But oh well, whatever. Up next was the match you were talking about, Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns. This was something that I thought, this is going to be hard to watch because I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not a big Bobby Lashley fan. I never have been a big fan of his work or anything like that. However, I will give him props because this feud with Roman Reigns has actually been quite entertaining. It's the most entertaining I think he's ever been on my TV. He's cut decent promos. They've had a good, legitimate feel to their anger with each other, and it's done well. It's been done well. So this match actually delivered, I thought, and like you said, on being entertaining and a good match. And whether that's because Roman, who I will tell you right now, he's a phenomenal worker. People may not like the fact that he got pushed down our throats, and I get that, but the dude can work a match, and he brought the best out of Bobby Lashley in this match, and I thought it was really good. And the fact that Bobby Lashley was able to pin him cleanly in the middle of the ring with a spear was shocking and phenomenal.
I'll tell you, Roman Reigns does the AA dump of Lashley over the top rope, and Lashley rolls to keep from hitting his head on the apron, but his head legitimately bounced off the floor mat with his left shoulder. He took that one like a champ. And I make fun of Bobby Lashley all the time because I think he's shaped like a big V. I mean, I call that the wellness policy my foot, or whatever. I mean, he's just a huge looking dude. But he worked great. Roman worked really good with him. And every time the crowd tried to crap on Roman, he just threw it right back in their face, like a good heel would do, by the way. And did everything he was supposed to. That was a great ending to that match. I didn't see that coming. I thought that they'll make this look as good as they can, and then Roman will spear him, and that'll be it. I get a kick out of every time Michael Cole tries to put over that Roman Reigns puts people down with the Superman punch. He hadn't beat anybody with that in 3 years.
Exactly.
So that is the setup. Mm-hmm. I know, it's the setup. He never. It's like the Superplex Falcon Arrow from Seth Rollins. I love that move, that combo move, but he never beats anybody with it anymore. So it's kind of lost something. It's not that big of a deal. The fact that they let Lashley go over clean like that, though, tells me that, they're going to have to crowbar Roman Reigns into that Lesnar rematch, or maybe they're just moving away from that for a little while. Maybe they're going to just let him go do something else. And, I could see there's lots of ways you could book with him. I am one of those, people that thinks he and Seth together as the Shield tag, maybe he can help Seth out against Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler coming up. We'll see. But he's clearly not in the main event anymore. And, that was the big rumor was that, that's going to be the main event. And I told you, I was like, I bet you the WWE put that out there just to verify that the backlash would be like, no way. And they were like, okay, we're not going to do that. So
it's possible. And I'm glad they decided not to do that because it shouldn't be the main event, especially when you have two title matches on the card, though that are higher quality than a Bobby Lashley Roman Reigns. There's nothing on the line for Bobby Lashley Roman Reigns right now. Had it been maybe a number one contenders match, it might deserve a better look at that spot. But again, when you have the WWE Championship, at least that should always go on before Bobby Lashley Roman Reigns.
Agreed. We get the Extreme Rules, or as I called it, the everything but the kitchen sink is under the ring. Raw Women's title match.
That's the way it should be. If you're going to have matches like this, you should have everything there.
Well,
and
they did. You had extra people. You had Natalya. You had Mickie James in 6-inch heels. Yep. Girlfriend was working hard tonight. And of course you had Ronda Rousey ready to spring into action. I was like, she's going to get in this. It's just a matter of when. And man, I want to tell you, they all 5 of these women threw each other all over the place.
It was great. It was a brawl. Alexa tried everything to keep Nia down. Nia just basically took every weapon she tried to use out of her hands and beat the tar out of Alexa Bliss. And the thing that Alexa doesn't get a lot of credit for is she's now had 2 really good matches against Nia Jax where she's looked good, trying to find ways to defeat a bigger opponent, and it's been great matches. And Nia, you got to give her a ton of credit. Ever since her feud with Alexa Bliss, she has done great things in the ring.
Can I tell you the thing that turned Nia Jax around? It was actually before she got in the feud with Alexa Bliss. She had a very, very short run with Asuka. And Asuka beat her. Mm-hmm. But she looked amazing in that match, and it was proof. I think it was proof to her and to everybody else that we can put a smaller woman against this woman, and it'll look good. It won't look like she should just maul them. They can work around and make it look good, and Alexa Bliss can work her butt off. I mean, she just can. All 4'11" of her. I mean, she works her butt off. Her and Mickey have a lot of fun. Obviously, I love the DDT onto a chair because that means the DDT matters again. Thankfully, finally.
Well, especially a chair.
Exactly. That always adds. But that's what I want to see. Like there was no way. I mean, the heel should never win clean over an opponent like that.
I agree.
You've always got to have. And if you're going to have a gimmick match like this, sure. And Rousey, give it to Mickey. Rousey snapped her with that whatever. Move she's got there, that sort of not F5, not Samoan drop thing. I don't know what they've given. It's a kind of Samoan
drop, yeah.
They've given it some kind of judo name. I don't know. I can't pronounce it. I don't care. But it's cool. She makes it look great because she can do it really fast because she knows what she's doing, and Mickey can bump off of everybody.
Mickey was awesome in this match. When Ronda came out of her seat and just basically mauled Mickie James, Mickey was a pro. That was not quite the shirt she should have probably been wearing in this match because the way Ronda manhandled it, that thing was made of good fabrics because it's a miracle that thing stayed on her and didn't rip.
That's probably why she did it. It was like, I'm going to wear the
crazy.
Everything she was wearing was completely wrong. I mean, Natty was in her ring gear.
Yeah.
Mickey just came in like Mickey was like
casual
she went
Sunday.
To Ruby Tuesdays, and went to the evening service at the local church, and then came on down. It
was crazy, and she was awesome. She did a great job bumping for Ronda, and really got things going. And so props to Mickey because that was great.
So now with Reigns and Lashley, that match. The women's title match going into the WWE title match, the IC title match, that's 4 big ones in a row. The WWE always books like the filler match somewhere in there. Well, they kind of got those out of the way.
They didn't do that this time,
it was 4 burn them down, the matches to go to the end. And we get the big WWE title match. And I know Raj Geary from Wrestling Inc. threw it out there, and I totally agree. The WWE is just never going to let a SmackDown title headline anything.
Which is sad. I mean, it's their, and they even put it over in the middle of the match how the title dates back to 1963.
Yeah, it's the real title.
It's the WWE
title.
Championship.
It might as well be the double golden eagle.
Well, it should be anyway, but
I know, but I mean, really, like that's that title, but we keep putting over this fake thing that Brock Lesnar has. But anyway,
it drives me nuts, and I know that the Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins Iron Man match should be a main event at any time. But when you have the WWE Championship being defended on the show and not have the Universal title, there's no excuse for not making it the main event. And I would have been happy with either one of those closing the show because they were both fantastic matches. So I don't know what the deal was, but
give it up to AJ, Rusev, and Aiden English for putting on a really good story. I told you as this match was going that this is old school, wrestling to me right here because you've got the heel all over the babyface for the first chunk of this match. I mean, Rusev was all over him. You get the baby comeback, you get the heel turn it back around again, then you get the heel's buddy gets in the way, the face knocks him out of the way and gets the win. Those last 2 moves that AJ laid on him, that 450 springboard and then the phenomenal form, this dude is 40-something years old and is still doing this.
He's 40 exactly, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, that is awesome looking. And Rusev bumps like everybody. I mean, he's a total pro. I get why he's so over with so many people and stuff. I mean, I'm not a huge fan. I don't care. I'm nothing against him. I just don't mark for him the way a lot of people do. But I think he's good, and this was perfect because he didn't look weak. He didn't look bad. He looked like he did everything he could, and he just lost. He lost to the better guy.
Yeah, they did such great psychology, especially working the calf crusher in there and the hurting his leg, and how Rusev couldn't get the accolade on properly because of that. I mean, they did such a good job, and I love the fact that it all comes down to Aiden English pulls the ring buckle off and exposes the bare steel, and nobody knows it. I mean, Rusev wasn't watching when this happened. Everyone was busy, and he goes after AJ, hits his head right on it, and that basically puts him in a daze. And that's how AJ was able to hit his final couple moves to get the pinfall, and it mattered, right? So just fantastically told story and well done, and it'll be real curious and interesting to see if anything comes out of Aiden English costing him the match by exposing that turnbuckle.
Oh, absolutely. And look, I mean, I've often thought somehow or another they're going to turn Rusev on Aiden English. That's always happens. Heels never stay together. There's den of thieves and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be fun. I thought they had a good match for what seems to be like a one-time deal. I thought that gave him everything you could want for Rusev fans, and AJ looks great. And look, again, no reason at all to pull the belt off that dude right now.
No.
He is carrying this company,
absolutely,
and is doing a really good work. Sometimes with really crappy stuff, because let's face it, most of that Shinsuke thing was a big letdown. I mean, they really screwed that up almost the entire way through. The Mania match was probably the best one of them.
Well, the final one was the best one. The 10 count last man standing was great.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. You're right. That one was good, but the bookends were fine. But the middle of that sucked, and everybody would tell you it did. It was booked so wrong. But you know what? He came out of it looking great and like a good champ. It reminds me of. I mean, again, I'll go to my old school stuff. It's like Ric Flair. When he would be in between feuds, he'd hang on to the title. But for that for a while, he carried the company for decades down south, and it was always the same thing. It was like just when he thought he was going to lose it, he would pull it out of the fire, and you wanted him to because he was so good with it. Yep. And we were texting offline, and I was like, who's next for him? And you threw out several. I'd like to see him and Joe go at it for a little bit. And I actually asked you, where the heck is Joe? Why is he not on this show? And I was like, well, maybe they're saving that. I don't know. Maybe he had a vacation. I don't know.
It's a great question, but I'm with you. I hope that's the one I want to see next is AJ and Samoa Joe, because I saw them wrestle in Ring of Honor. I saw them wrestle in TNA, and it was phenomenal every time. So to see an updated version of that, I can't wait.
I can't believe it because I remember I was never exposed to Joe until he got into NXT finally. I heard people talking about it. And he and Finn Balor put on some shows. Oh yeah. And I'm like, I'm ready to see Joe get in the spotlight now. I think it's time. And so that would be my vote. We'll see how it goes. But I thought that was great, and it was a good way. And they were going to end it with the Iron Man match, so fine. Let's do that. And I got to tell you, Dolph Ziggler is so much fun. With his, his gimmick, where it's almost like watching Rick Rude. He came out with the Evil Knievel, but it was spelled like evil as in Satan. Which I'm like the perfect heel thing to do. And I've said forever, Seth Rollins is wasting a good heel as a face, but you know what? He can't out-heel Dolph Ziggler. And that guy is so good at it.
The only reason Rollins is a face is because the crowd loves him so much they couldn't really keep him a heel. I mean, he's great at both. He's really good at both, and it's hard to be good at both being a face and a heel. He's one of the people who can pull it off.
Very Shawn Michaels in that way. He can go that way. He works very much similar, and he can kind of do that, and that's sort of his thing. So.
I'm all for either way. I love a good heel who can back it up, and it's nice because as a heel, you can't always win the way that you should. As a face, you can win the matches the way that you want to with your finishers and all that kind of stuff. So
let's go through the falls. Let's go through these falls in this, because the way they booked this out was really interesting.
It was well done.
Yeah. I mean, you got Seth got the first fall, which was really cool. I mean, he was able to get the buckle bomb, roll him up, and then he keeps going, gets the curb stomp, boom, he's up 2-0, 8 minutes into the match, And then what you knew was going to happen, and I told you we was walking the ring, I was like, Drew McIntyre looks like $1 million. And I can't wait till he asserts himself into this thing. And he obliterated Seth Rollins for like 3 minutes, and it was awesome. So.
He did, and it was crazy. And the ref DQs Dolph for it. So now Rollins is up 3-0. But McIntyre, because he had already gotten the DQ, just continues to just maul Seth Rollins. And then finally the ref just throws him out of the match. So Drew McIntyre's gone. Seth is basically wasted. Ziggler gets up, basically just rolls him over and covers him for the 3. Boom, 3-1. He gets up, waits for Rollins to get himself up, super kicks him right away. Boom, there's another 3. Now we're at 3-2. And then he goes in, and Rollins avoids another super kick, but is caught with an uppercut and the zigzag for the 3. And now we're tied at 3-3. And all that happened within approximately a 2 to 3 minute span.
Yeah, so we are tied at 3-3 with 18 minutes to go in the match. And I'm like, man, and I tweeted out, like, maybe they'll let these guys do that Wimbledon, Ishner, and Anderson thing, and they'll go like 26-24. And if you're going to do this kind of a match where the whole psychology of getting a pinfall is just sort of thrown out the window anyway, then just lay it on thick. It ought to be finisher, just pinning left and right. Because the worst thing is to have an Iron Man match that goes like 2-3 or 2-1. I'm like, we could just had a 2 out of 3 falls.
2-3 is okay. It's the 1-0 or the 2-1s that drive me nuts.
Yeah, those are lame because that's a 2 out of 3 falls match.
Exactly.
Just do that. You know.
Well, right. And if you're going to have 30 minutes to wrestle and it's the most falls, give us falls. Somehow, some way, give us falls.
What was funny was when they found a way to get Ziggler on top of Rollins. So he's up 4-3, and then Rollins had to run from behind. The whole thing. I mean, he hit him with everything. Frog splashed him, did the superplex to Falcon Arrow on him. Everything in the world to try to get him, right? Finally got him with the slingshot and the roll up with 3 minutes to go, tied to 4-4. And like, I want to just, for the record, and you verify this, 5 minutes before that happened, I sent you a message that they're going to let this end in a draw.
Yeah.
and that's exactly what happened. Seth gets a big move on him, can't pin him in time. The timer runs out, and I was like, oh man. And I just sat and listened to that Pittsburgh crowd just dump all over it. And I thought, are they really going to do this? And then Kurt Angle comes out. Yep, Kurt Angle comes out, and I was like, good move, WWE. So, but I knew then immediately, I was like, where's Drew McIntyre? Because he's about to Claymore Seth Rollins from behind. And because I knew it was coming. And sure enough, he didn't get a move in. Seth, knocks him off the apron. But zigzag and boom, that's it. Dolph Ziggler wins. I was like, perfect. Put a ton of heat on the heel going out there. And you screw your baby face at the end. That's a great way to end a pay-per-view that had started off and was completely forgettable for an hour. And then had a good match and then kind of fell down and then had 4 good ones in a row to end. The WWE never has 4 good ones in a row of anything, ever, anymore. So the fact that they did that, I was like, well, that elevated the grade on this one all the way.
Well, and you mentioned it earlier, that the fact that they did that with no filler in the middle was fantastic. Yeah. You got good match after good match after good match after good match. And every one of them was different, but all good. And so props to WWE for that. After the first hour, I think a lot of people were kind of going, "Oh, this is another Backlash pay-per-view, right? This is going to suck." And they pulled it out. Once that cage match hit, things went all uphill from there. And the Bludgeon Brothers match was not the greatest, but it wasn't terrible. And you got what you wanted, which was a good amount of good wrestling and good stories and good characters. It was just really well done. So it saved itself. I think this went from being a dismal pay-per-view to a highly entertaining one if you just skip the first hour.
I mean, yeah, honestly, I would tell people watch the cage match and then watch the last 4 matches. And everything else you could just kind of read about or just catch up on and replay. Like, you don't even need to really watch the rest of it. Watch that cage match with Braun and KO for nothing more than just that spot. But really the whole match was good. And then watch the last 4 and starting with Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns. I can't believe I just said that. You know, but they tore it down. Had a great. Well, they didn't tear it down. They had a good match between two guys that had no business having that good of a match. They did a good job laying that out. Alexa and I and the whole women, half the Raw women's division got involved in a trash match, which was great. Then you had a phenomenal WWE Championship match, and then you had a great Iron Man match with a screwball finish, and it's all you could have wanted. And I thought, this pay-per-view was a D for an hour, in D equals done. I was just done. I was like, can I cancel my subscription? No, or just re-upped it. So no, because I signed up on the 15th, and so I'm always like right there at pay-per-view time. So anyway, I noticed that, but they finished it well, and it went from a D to C plus B minus territory, maybe B minus. Those last 4 matches are about as good as the WWE's programmed in a while. And I'm sitting here as we're talking, looking on Twitter, and people are just hating all over this, and I'm like, people have decided that the WWE sucks now, and they don't completely suck. They don't completely suck. They don't get everything wrong, but they got 4 in a row right tonight, and so I'm going to end my comments with that, because I know we're out of time, but I thought they ended as good as they could, and I'm real curious to see what happens on Raw now.
I am too, and I'm going to give this a B. I thought it was a decent enough show, and something that I wouldn't mind going back and watching that last 2.5 hours of pay-per-view and enjoying again, because I thought it was good. So I'm going with a B on the show. Had that first hour gone well, they could have easily gotten a B plus A minus on this, but unfortunately we had to suffer through an hour of just what the hell are they thinking. And that's basically what it came down to. So yeah, it's worth checking out. I would agree with you, Jay. Check out for the cage match, skip the Bludgeon Brother match, and then go on from Bobby Lashley and finish out the whole show, because you'll be entertained. I will say that.
Yep, I agree.
All right, well, anyone who listened, thank you for listening to our post WWE Extreme Rules show. We will be back on Friday for our normal regularly scheduled broadcast live at 9 Central, 10 Eastern. So join us then live on Spreaker. Otherwise, catch us on iTunes, Stitcher, whatever podcast app you have. Just search for the Weekly Suplex. We'll be there. Thank you, and have a great night.
It is exhausting being so talented.
I'm not finished with you!
You are not even worth my time.